Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about what many of the major mainstream news organizations' main story that they're running with, which is the January 6th committee and their investigation, and talking about its effect on the polls for the 2022 midterm cycle and how it has not had really much of an effect on that at all, and going through some of that stuff. So, specifically talking, and this is going to be a pretty brief video, but I just wanted to talk about this. I haven't made a video in a good amount of time. I've actually been um, doing a lot of things with college orientation and planning for that, so I've been very busy. I'm really trying to get back into this because I need to, because the 2022 midterms are coming up, and I need to start making videos as often as possible now. But I'm going to be talking about today, at least, the January 6th commission, and that's affecting the polls. So it hasn't had an effect on the polls. If anything, the Republicans have become more popular, and the Democrats and Joe Biden has continued to lose popularity, drop in popularity. So my take overall on the January 6th commission is it's something that the Democrats have been using as an attempt to get political support. It was very helpful back last year, really, in the spring, which was when Joe Biden had his highest approval rating. The Democrats were looking like they would win the midterms. Of course, things have changed a lot since then, but it was their new thing to talk about. This is something that the media usually runs with. They always have these different stories that they talk about. Things change. Prior to this, it was Roe v. Wade slightly. But that didn't really last, and people were saying that Roe v. Wade was going to drown Republicans' hopes for winning the midterm elections. That's completely fabricated. That's completely false. If anything, Roe v. Wade will help Republicans when you look at those polls and when you look at the enthusiasm polls and who that directly affects with regards to enthusiasm. It's Republicans in the slight majority, actually. Prior to that, it was Ukraine. People were saying, oh, yeah, Joe Biden's approval rating, he's going to be a wartime president. It's going to rebound because he's defending Ukraine. And, that didn't happen at all. That did not happen. It was if anything, his approval continued to decline because of the fact that gas prices rose. And just Russia invading Ukraine wasn't even a good look for Joe Biden's administration. In addition, before that, it is hard to remember exactly. I think people were talking mostly about COVID. That is somewhat of a winning issue for the Democrats. They're trying to slightly bring COVID back a little bit, but I don't really know how much that's helping. So, going back, the media has been running with all sorts of stories that they bring out, and going back to the Russian collusion story about Donald Trump in 2016, people were saying that's going to affect the 2018 midterms, which it had no impact on it. So all of these things that people are saying, okay, this is it for the Republicans, this is it, it's just not true. The January 6th committee has had absolutely no effect on the 2022 midterms. Nobody's paying attention to it. The ratings are very low. The media is running with it at the top of the headline because there really isn't much else to talk about aside from, obviously bad things and with regards to Joe Biden. But when you look at the story, it's not helping. Let me just take a look. Let me just show you the polls. I'll just search up the RCP polls at the moment to prove it to you. Now, it's been picking up. It does seem like the committee wants to press or recommend charges as prior to the midterms. Probably in September or August, they would do something like that. But they're trying to use that as a political benefit. I don't think that's going to happen here. Let me just click on President Biden's job approval. When we look at it, it's been dipping. It's approval at 38.5. Yesterday it was at 37%. It ticks up, it ticks down, but he's been in the 30s now for good amount of time, relatively. When you look at the polls, and you can see it's just been in a steady decline. The January 6th committee really started to bring out its evidence and talk and pick up in the news like around, I don't know, mid-June, the beginning of June, and his approval has only continued to decline. And when you look at Republicans in the generic congressional ballot, they're winning there as well. They're expected to pick up anywhere between 230 and 250 seats in the House of Representatives. So it's just obviously a very bad look, and the January 6th committee isn't in any way benefiting the Democrats. So if I were to give any advice, I there really would not be much that I could give at this point. Republicans have the Democrats in a position where they're very, very vulnerable. Um, I guess this would be what they would have to talk about if they wanted, if they were in a good seat. I guess this is what Josh Shapiro is talking about, and he's running a pretty effective campaign. But we'll see what happens there. But the Democrats don't really have many things to run on. They're in a pretty vulnerable position. Republicans, of course, are talking about crime, immigration, inflation, all of the Asians, education, and that's what's giving them victories. They're winning with the culture war talking points. And previously, those Republican strategists, more establishment types, said, talk about lowering taxes and getting rid of regulations. Then basically Trump came around, a new wing of the Republican Party emerged, this populist wing, and then it got controlled. Or it didn't get controlled, but it became the forefront of the party. It was no longer like neocons. It became this populist wing of the party, and they are definitely more culture warriors. And actually, that has had a significant result in helping Republicans at least get a wider tent, get a more open tent among Hispanics, Asians, and Black people in this country when you look at those trends in support. So overall, the Democrats don't really have much to run on. The January 6th committee is not helping them in the polls, and they really don't have much to run on. They're in a very vulnerable position, and at this point, I do see Republicans getting about over 240 seats in the House, probably around 240, and picking up 2 to 3 Senate seats, possibly more in 2022. That's really all I have for you today. Wasn't really much specific. There isn't really many big things happening in the news. There's obviously going to be some very big primaries in August. You got Liz Cheney's primary. You've got the Arizona Senate primary, governor primaries. Those are going to be definitely things to watch out for and definitely very exciting. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, that's really all that I have for you today. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on this, and what can Democrats even talk about at this point that would help them win in the 2022 midterms. I just doesn't look like they're going to win at this point, and historically they won't. So yeah, that's really all I have for you. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Stay tuned for more videos, and have a great day.